Well, over the past several weeks in our diocese, we've been talking a lot about Called by Name, our new vocations initiative to identify young men who have the qualities of a future priest. As part of Called by Name, many priests have been sharing their vocation stories with the faithful. And the other day, I paid an early Christmas visit to the diocese priest retirement home where Monsignor Dave Lockard and Father Leonard Voytek greeted me with their trademark humor and discussed the joy of their decades of priestly service. Welcome to beautiful St. Leonard's home in Hollidaysburg, where it's already beautifully decorated for Christmas. And I'm here with the wonderful two residents, Monsignor Dave Lockard and Father Leonard Voytek, two gems in our diocese, both senior priests, enjoying their retirement, but still helping out a lot at parishes. And Monsignor and Father, what a treat to be here with you. First, let me tell you.
Great. It's great.
Last time I was here was several months ago when the bishop came and blessed this new priest retirement home. And I had you both on camera and you were such a hit. Everyone loved it. As soon as it aired, I was inundated with comments, including one from a friend of mine who you both know. And his simple text to me was, "More Dave and Lenny." So I haven't been out lately.
I said first billing.
So I said, it's Christmas. I'm going to come out and visit with you guys. And I wanted to talk a lot about, vocations. We're in the midst of this Called by Name program here in our diocese, where we're inviting parishioners to submit the names of young men who may have the qualities of a future priest. And we've invited all of our priests to share their vocation stories. So I figured let's hear from two of our great senior priests. Monsignor, why don't we start with you? Grew up in the Ebensburg area and take it from there.
Well, Ebensburg means Holy Name Parish, Holy Name School, where I was an altar server from 4th grade on up. Then Bishop Carroll High School, where I graduated from. But when I was young, serving Mass in grade school and that, I didn't think I was a good enough person to be a priest, so I never entertained the thought for more than a second or two. When I got to Bishop Carroll, we had to make an annual retreat in the school. They just canceled classes for a couple of days, and we had talks and everything, and a lot of quiet time. A lot of just sit in your desk in your homeroom, and they had books to read, but mostly it's quiet, quiet, quiet. And while I was sitting there quiet, thinking, somehow the thought came to me, maybe I am good enough to be a priest. Maybe I'm not the Curé of Ars, John the 23rd, but I'm good enough.
Right.
So I kind of pursued that thought all the way through high school, and when it came time to make a decision after graduation, I decided to enter the seminary and see what became of it. And I also want to add that the priests that were teaching Bishop Carroll, in those days it was almost all priests on the faculty. They were very inspirational to me, and I think they did a lot of quiet behind the scenes, good example work to inspire me to make the decision to enter the seminary.
And Father Voytek, a similar path with Catholic education. Tell us about your growing up years.
Yeah, I was raised in Johnstown, and I went to Visitation Grade School, which is in the area of Conwell Hospital, and I was in the first grade there, and was taught by nuns, charity sisters. And then when I went to Bishop McCord, of course, they had many priests on the faculty and religious too. And I was very much inspired by their dedication, how hard they worked, how excited they were to share their faith with us. And being a server at Mass, I was always drawn into the mystery. The Mass is so powerful. Even when it was in Latin, there was a mystery about it. I was drawn into that mystery of the Mass, and I wanted to be closer to it. And being a server really was great, but I wanted to be closer than that. And I was like, boy, if it could be a priest, that would really be awesome.
Right.
Don't be afraid to think about being a priest. And their encouragement meant a lot to me.
And Monsignor, you said something that really hit a chord, because I think a lot of young men, just as you said, when you were discerning early on, you said, maybe I'm not good enough to be a priest. And I have to think there are probably some young men who are open to the priesthood but feel the same way. What would your advice be to them to not let that fear limit them?
pray, and then after that, pray some more. And I think the thing, maybe it's a turning point, in deciding if you're being called, is, are you, as Father Leonard was saying, devoted to the Mass, the Eucharist? A person who doesn't like to go to Mass or doesn't go to Mass, period, they're not being called to be a priest. But if you do go to Mass and you get something out of it, you feel closer to the Lord as a result of being at Mass and receiving the Eucharist, that's a good sign. It's not an infallible sign, but to be a priest, you really have to give yourself to the Eucharist. I think even when you're retired, we still get calls, help with Mass.
And Father Voytek, you mentioned, well, both of you mentioned about your years in Catholic schools, and you really had that interaction with priests and religious. Sadly, in our Catholic schools, as great as they are today, there are very few priests and religious in our schools, at least on a daily basis. So young men aren't exposed to the priests that way, to really interact with them, to get to know them, to see their lighter side, to see their spiritual side. How can we fill that void today? What would your advice be to young men who, really just aren't around priests that much? But I think it's still important that they take the time to invest in those relationships, at least with their pastor, if not other priests.
Just talk to them.
Yeah.
I think that, I think as priests, we get excited when people want to talk to us.
Yeah.
We, especially when young people, it's kind of a real thrill. I'm still excited. I see so much faith in young people. That we hear confessions over BG, and but young people still they have that excitement and enthusiasm. So I would just encourage you to reach out and talk to a priest, and I think I think we can always make time for young people, regardless as a priest how busy you are. We really enjoy talking and being with young people. It's a little harder when you get retired because we're not around, but I kind of, in a way, I miss that. I wish we were around more young people, and I enjoy their excitement and see how they look at life so differently, and I like to share what I can see with them. So just reach out, talk to them, and it's, I think it's amazing, how much we do have in common, even though our age difference is so very different. Yeah.
One of the blessings of my job is getting to spend so much time with priests. It has really enriched my life. It's been a beautiful journey. So I would recommend young men to do the same. I think once you get to know priests, you feel that connection instantly. Yeah. And I know that both of you enjoyed a lot of support from friends and family as you were discerning and going through the seminary formation. Monsignor, talk about that and the importance of that.
Well, what came to my mind is Father is just speaking now. Growing up in my home, both my parents are Catholic. Both went to Mass every Sunday. Maybe my father should have been a priest. I don't know, but I'm glad he didn't become a priest. But they would never say a bad thing about a priest in front of me or my brother. And I know, looking back on it now, with the eyes of an adult, not all the priests we had at Holy Name were curiavars, They had some problems, those men, as we all do, but they never heard it from my parents. They never said anything negative about the priests in front of us. And I think that was a big, important thing. Because if your mother or father or both are ragging on the priests in the parish, for whatever reason, they're too liberal, they're too conservative, that's not going to foster vocations.
Yeah.
The other thing about parental support, and I'll share a little bit of personal story here, there was a time in my seminary trip of 9 years where it looked a little bleak, like I might have to bail out. And I remember sharing that with my father and mother, and my father said to me, look, whatever you decide to do, we're here for you. He didn't say, no, hang in there, get tough, come on, or, oh, it's about time you quit, get a wife and get married. No, he said, whatever you do, we're here for you. That was one of the happiest days of my life, hearing those words from my father. So those are a couple things, and certainly having young priests around, but there aren't too many young priests today. But I think parents have to step in, mothers and fathers, by example, by not dissing the priests if they have problems, and supporting your adult children as they make decisions. Just letting them know whatever it is they decide, you as their mother or father will back them up.
Yeah. Good advice as always. So I want to ask both of you, Father Voytek, we'll start with you. A lot of young men who may be considering the priesthood are also trying to balance that with maybe their desire to get married and have a family. They fear that if they don't do that, they're going to be missing out on, quote unquote, the joy of life. But I suspect that both of you as priests have experienced great joy and great connections with your parish families over the years. Both of you have been to many parishes in many parts of our diocese. Let's close with each of you reflecting on that what the lifelong bonds that you have formed with your parishioners over the years.
Yeah, that's always a big question when you go into the seminary about being married and having your own family, your own children. It is extremely an important thing to realize. But as you are a priest, you realize God is giving you a bigger family, and you're getting so many other children, and God shares so much more with you. So in a way, you give up something and you get so much more. I feel I'm a part of so many families. That's the beautiful thing. As you celebrate your golden anniversary, Monsignor and I both have, that you realize you've been a part of so many families, so many lives, and so many children you've seen grow up. So grow up in the faith and be wonderful people. And God blesses us in a much different way, but a wonderful way. And I think the whole key in priesthood is God wants you to be happy, the church needs happy priests. Yeah. We don't need sad priests.
Absolutely.
We need happy and holy priests. Is that what we need? And sure there's going to be bad days, sure there's going to be tough days, but in the end, I really am happy. I'm very blessed.
Monsignor?
Well, I'd like to look at this from maybe a different perspective. A lot of times we talk about priesthood, and it's true, the priest celebrating the Mass, consecrating the bread and wine, the body and blood of Christ, giving people Holy Communion and so on, is the high point of the priesthood. And theologically, I agree. But personally, I look back on 50 plus years. To me, the most touching moments of those 50 years when I was celebrating reconciliation with people. You remember that line where Jesus gives the keys to St. Peter and says, unlock people, let them go free. That's what I feel I've done. Not every time I'm in the confessional, but almost once a month or something, as frequently as that, someone will come to me in confession. And they'll share things with me they wouldn't tell anybody else because they know it's sealed. And a lot of times their problems are self-imposed. They've locked themselves up. And I have the key to let them loose. Those words of absolution and maybe a couple words of advice, what to do next or what not to do next, And I can sense them letting the chains fall off. They're free and they leave happy. And of course, God deserves all the credit for that, but I feel like I was his instrument.
You were.
And that to me is worth all the sacrifices I've had to make over the years to be able to be a person that can set people free, and people that are chained up with whatever it is. It could be a big thing or a little thing even. But after a trip to the confessional and talk with me, prayers of absolution, they're free. That is the most wonderful feeling in the world.
I've never heard another priest describe it the way you just did. That was absolutely beautiful. Two wonderful priests here in our diocese. This diocese is blessed for many reasons, and it's good priests like you who are so key
Thank
to
you.
who we are.
Thank you very much.
Can I add one thing?
You absolutely may.
The last time I think you interviewed us, we were talking about our mascot,
Yes.
Hal.
Yes. What's the update?
Well, Hal has a girlfriend. Monsignor, what did you name Hal's girlfriend?
Holly.
Holly, see? We saw them perched out here on the stump here in the summer.
And just to refresh the memory of our viewers, it's Hal is a groundhog, correct?
Hal is the groundhog.
Holly is his mate.
Okay.
So now we haven't seen much of them. It's getting into winter. We hope they're hibernating, but we don't know, do we?
We'll find out on February 2nd.
So we want people to know it was a very touching moment when I saw Hal and Holly out there on the stump. It was a very beautiful moment.
Great fun here at St. Leonard's Home. You guys are wonderful. Again, thank you for all you
Thank
do.
you. Thank
what a
you.
blessing you are. Two wonderful role models for any young men considering the priesthood, and even for young men who aren't considering the priesthood. Thank you again for all you do. You're retired but still serving our diocese and parishes. So thank you. I wish you both a blessed Advent and a Merry Christmas.
Yes. Thank you,
Also
Tony.
with you.
Blessed Advent, too.